Hello guys, we continue the daily tradition, lesson number 13 out of 17 from my course about Vue.js and Inertia. We're creating the full CRUD, and the last bit of that CRUD is edit form, which will be almost identical to the create form, but we need to pass the property, the actual post, to be edited. How it is done? It's all in this lesson. And if you want to get the code repository, you should purchase the full code here at laraveldaily.teachable.com or check out my other courses, a lot of courses about various topics about Laravel and around that. And the best deal to get all of that is yearly membership. Now let's dive into today's video. Now let's finish our CRUD with the edit functionality. So let's just copy and paste the delete button and let's make it a link instead of a button. It would be styled a bit differently. So we use a link here, so we don't need type button, and let's change the color from red to, for example, blue 600, and then instead of click we'll have href with route, and route will be post edit, and we will create that in a minute. So route post edit with parameter of post ID, and route should be of course like this. Now let's create that post edit in the routes web. We don't need to do anything because it's route resource. In the post controller, according to route resource controllers in Laravel, we need to create edit method, which will be public function edit. With route model binding, we can do post like this. And what do we return? Return inertia. Component, we will create that in a minute, post edit with compact of post. And let's transform that post still through API resources to not expose too much information. So we transform post will be new post resource of post like this. And let's create our edit view component. So we open create view, and I will show you the main thing, how to pass that and how to catch that post in the edit view. This is pretty interesting. So edit view, it will be almost identical to the create view. So title edit post, the route will be different. Instead of form post will be form put to the route of posts update with the parameter of post ID, or in fact form ID. And that post update already exists from routing point of view in the controller, just we haven't created that update. We will do that in a minute. Everything else is identical, so form title, errors title, everything else is the same except for this part. The form should not be empty, it should be filled in with the edited object, right? So our goal is to catch that post from the controller. To catch that, we need to define that as prop, so post object like this. And then in here in the setup, we can use props.post. So for example, we need the ID here as well. So ID would be props post ID, and props should be the parameter here in the setup like this. Title would be props post title. We need comma here, and props post content. We save, build successful, and let's try it out. So we refresh our post list. We have, of course, I forgot to change the delete text and a few more styling things. So it should be edit, of course, and let's make it on one line to avoid spaces. And let's add a class of margin right 2, something like this. Build successful, refresh, edit and delete. Cool. Now if we click edit, we have the post to edit URL. And that is the data in the form. If we click cancel, we go back to the list. So this is how you can pass any parameter from the controller to the Vue Inertia component as props, and then in the setup use those props. As you can see, these are repeating ID, title, and content. So in this case, we can simplify that to use form props.post. Save, let's refresh and see if it still works. So cancel, full refresh, for example, ID 3, and it's still in the form. Great. But in fact, I see a problem here. Since we are returning post resource, this is not the correct data. So I changed my mind, and in the post controller, I will not use post resource, because in the post resource, remember from the very beginning, we are shortening the content and adding ... where it's not needed. So let's delete that part. And if we refresh the page now, let's refresh. And now we have the full content that we can edit. Cool. Now update. We almost have it done. So in the edit view, the form put is here and post update, actually if we click it, it will show an error that update method doesn't exist in the controller, which is true, but the actual routing did work. So in the post controller, we create public function update. Update what? Post with route model binding with the same form request class, because the rules of validation is the same. Sometimes you need a separate form request class for the update, but in this case it's the same. So what are we doing? Update the post with request validated like this, and then redirect back with the message. So same as store, just the message will be different. Post updated successfully. So let's try it out. Refresh again, although actually we didn't need to refresh because we changed only the backend. So we added ... save post, and it is saved, and the message is post updated successfully. So edit form is almost identical to the create form, with a difference of how you pass the parameters at the bottom here and how you submit the form with form put instead of form post.